Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Young Turks. I'm guest host Jimmy Dore from the Jimmy Dore Show on the Pacifica Radio Network and JimmyDoreComedy.com. This here is Frank Cana from Mystery Science Theater 3000 and CinematicTitanic.com. Hi, Frank. How are you?
Hey, how you doing?
All right. So I'm sitting on my coat and I'm punching my one thought.
Star, smile strong.
And so what are we going to be talking about today on the Young Turks? Rupert Murdoch. Got a little bit of he's in a little bit of a pickle, right? Rupert Murdoch, the nicest megalomaniac to ever hack into a dead girl's voicemail. He's decided to withdraw his bid to buy Big Sky, British Sky Broadcasting. And the reason he cites for doing that is that he is appalled, shocked, and hurt by the hateful things he's heard people say about him on their private voicemails. So he doesn't want to.
That's very hurtful to him when that happened.
I did a little Jay Leno there. I talked right. I kept talking after the punch. Also,
maybe we can buy that. Now that he's not buying it, maybe we can buy it.
Maybe we could buy it. We're going to put in a bid for it.
When I buy it, it'll just be Avengers reruns, 24 hours a day. Okay.
And we're also going to talk about Michelle Bachmann, who is the nicest Christian lady to ever marry a closeted gay guy and then bash them. She's signed a marriage pledge. She was on the Iowa TV yesterday. We're going to talk about that. Plus, what's a real way to bring down the deficit? Well, maybe we can end a war or two. We'll talk about that. There's lots of things coming up on today's show, but I want to kick it off first. Now, yesterday, if you watched, we were talking about how Barack Obama was not negotiating well with the debt ceiling thing, how he was giving away the farm, is that the term?
Giving away the farm, the store, and the country.
And the country. And, well, it turns out that we may have been wrong about that, or I may have been wrong about that, because I was watching Lawrence O'Donnell. Well, let's play this clip, and then we'll come back. Can we play the Lawrence O'Donnell clip, JR?
I want to emphasize that nothing is agreed to until everything's agreed to, and the parties are still far apart on a wide range of issues.
Nothing is agreed to until everything is agreed to. Someone always says that to the press after every negotiating session on the budget, and no one believes it except the people in the room who know that it is absolutely true. They know that they have agreed to nothing until they have agreed to everything. Vice President Joe Biden spent weeks entertaining discussions of massive spending cuts, as much as $3 trillion in spending, that it is now clear that the White House had no intention of ever actually agreeing to in the end, because the White House always knew that the Republicans would never agree to the White House tax revenue proposals. And in a world where nothing is agreed to until everything is agreed to, the White House knew nothing was going to be agreed to. Still, the White House was clever enough to leak that the notion that it was willing to entertain spending cuts, that President Obama was willing to bend over backwards in the Republican direction and think about spending cuts in Medicare, in Social Security. Those ideas horrified some Democrats in Congress and many Obama supporters in the blogosphere. But just today, the normally astute Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell has finally begun to catch up with the president's superior strategic maneuvering.
Wow.
So, did you see that?
I thought Inception was confusion.
So, according to Lawrence O'Donnell, who is an ex-staffer for
Daniel Patrick Moynihan, was the chief of staff.
So he's got some insight into how Congress works and all that stuff. He's saying that Obama, who's been driving us all crazy here on the left, when we see him negotiating his jumping off point is, sure, I'll cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, no problem. It's something that the Republicans have been wanting to do ever since they invented Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and could never get done because they're extremely popular. Barack Obama was just like, I'll do it. Turns out, according to Lawrence O'Donnell, that was his jujitsu. He's all ninja on the Republicans, and he won. That's what he...
It makes sense that jiu-jitsu and ninja would come from someone not born in this country.
It's certainly. We talked about his birth certificate yesterday. I don't know if I buy that, because if he was this good, I'm just going to... If he was this good at this, he would have found a way to get the public option in the health care bill. Don't you think? If he was this good.
Well, I think the argument about that would maybe be made about that is that he had to be as good as he was to get even the health care deal that he got done, which after all, as flawed as it was the first health care legislation that had been passed in years.
Right.
So, you know, it seems like that's part of his thing is you know, gambling and negotiating and kind of being like a card player. I'm surprised Kenny Rogers hasn't written a song about him.
So you're really serious? Do you really think that Barack Obama just out-ninja'd everybody on this?
I don't. It's hard to say. These days, I don't. It's hard to know if there's karate unless one of Will Smith's kids is involved. So I can't. I really can't say.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit more. I mean, if Lawrence O'Donnell, if what he's saying is right, then
and like you said, Lawrence O'Donnell is an insider. He knows he knows how that kind of stuff works.
Although Lawrence O'Donnell, I do have tape of him saying this: health care will never pass, and he had all these reasons for it, and then it did, pass. So maybe we can't go to Lawrence O'Donnell on this. I don't know, but I do like the way he yells forcefully at everything he says. And
it might be that he's right sometimes and wrong the other time.
Oh no!
That would be very confusing.
So, folks, if you watched yesterday, I was pretty hard on our president, Mr. Barack Obama, and
no wonder he snapped at a meeting today and walked out on Eric Cantor. I think it had something to do with your being so hard on it yesterday.
I heard, you know, he watches. And
he's a fan.
He friended the show, and he follows me on Twitter. And maybe he got his feelings hurt, but he really did walk out of that meeting today with Eric Cantor. That was the word. And he said something like, what did he say, Frank?
I heard right before I came in that he said, "I don't care if this brings down my presidency. I'm not caving on." Or he didn't say I'm not caving, because.
Okay.
But the phrase "I don't care if this brings down my presidency" was said apparently. That's, you know,
okay, so
that's secondhand information.
So apparently Barack Obama is not, even though all those clips we showed, Donna Brazil on Christine Amanpour's show, saying that Barack Obama is proposing tax cuts and cutting Social Security and cutting Medicare.
They're all in it. It's almost, might be that it's all Obama and Donna Brazil and all his team there. It's some kind of Ocean's 11 scam they got going.
It seems like it.
At the end, you know, it's going to turn out they were the guards, but they robbed the money or something. I don't know, you know.
Well, we'll see how this, it's still trying to shake out. Yesterday, after I left the show and went home, it seemed like the Republicans had cried uncle, and they were going to raise the white flag. And they were going to go, okay, bro. So, you know, the deal is that Mitch McConnell proposed a deal. Since yesterday, since we did this show, Mitch McConnell proposed a deal that they would pass legislation that allowed the president to raise the debt ceiling by himself, but that the president would then submit a bill to the Congress that they could vote on to raise the debt ceiling, and they would vote no. So that the Republicans would have cover. They could say, look, we voted against it. And
I think it was supposed to be known as the Legislative Cynicism Act of 2011.
Yes. The legislative cess, I think that's it. And so then Mitch McConnell's and is catching all kind of flack from the Tea Partiers and John Boehner. Again, we figured out yesterday that's not a tan. That's him. His face is red from being bitch slapped by the Tea Party so often. Right? I said it right today.
That's why they brought us back again. We could have a second. We're going to redo all the jokes from yesterday,
all the jokes
folks.
We
got a second chance.
We're going to try. And look, George Clooney likes that. So so that was the deal that Mitch McConnell was proposing. And it looked like he was walking away from everything the Republicans have been dreaming about for decades because he didn't want to raise taxes on millionaires. Boy, oh boy. See, another piece of information that happened was that there was a letter from a bunch of business leaders, bankers, and the Chamber of Commerce was sent to the Republicans in Congress saying, hey, quit screwing around because you're going to screw up the economy, and would you quit playing games and raise that's their true boss, right? So that's Boehner's and McConnell's true boss.
They heard from an authority that they had to answer to.
That wasn't
serious.
They certainly don't answer to the voters.
It wasn't the people or anyone else, but a few people who were in the Chamber of Commerce and business leaders.
Money and power. So that was, I think it was that letter that made some things happen. I think more than Barack Obama trying to play hardball. I think it was that letter that came from those business leaders that said, hey, quit screwing around, raise the debt ceiling, or else you're not going to get a job when you quit Congress. Right? We're not going to give you those.
You want a lobbyist job?
Yeah.
A $1 million lobbyist job? You better get in line.
You want to be like...
but it seems like you can't be like... Some of these people like kind of want to be traditional conservatives and want to do what they think is good for business. But it seems like in this climate, if you don't do something, if you're not completely crazy, you'll get criticized by the Tea Party. And the Tea Party seem to be running everything. So... It seems to me like without the Tea Party, there probably would have been a deal by now.
I agree, and I don't, you know, it's certainly it's a situation where the tail is wagging the dog, and I don't know. It's a fluid situation. We're still waiting.
I have to go to the bathroom right now. That's how fluid it is.
That's how fluid it is. Okay. All right. Well, let's. And here's, you know, I gave a couple examples yesterday of. Things you never hear about how to reduce the deficit. You never, Frank, you're on camera a long time.
Oh,
and the monitors are throwing me off. Oh, okay. I thought I was okay.
We'll fix it in post.
We'll fix it in post. This isn't live. So I showed you a couple examples yesterday of ways to reduce the deficit that you never hear in mainstream media or even unmainstream. I guess you hear it here. And so I showed you a couple of ideas that Reagan's budget director, David Stockman, had for reducing the deficit, putting a tax on Wall Street transactions, which would raise $100 billion a year, a one-time 15% surcharge on the upper 5% in America, which would cut the deficit in half. You never hear these things, right? And that's a Republican budget director for Reagan coming up with those ideas. So so I was watching an inside piece, or a piece that by ABC done about Secretary Gates, who's retiring, and you know, that's another thing. You never hear people say, hey, maybe if we weren't in 2 wars for 10 years, maybe we could afford more health care.
To be fair, it's not 2 wars, it's 3 wars.
To be fair, it's 2.5 wars.
2.5 wars,
2.5
which
wars.
Ashton Kutcher's going to star on this year.
Winning! So I just want to show this little clip of Secretary Gates and how tough he has it. Can we go and play that Gates, JR? Do you know which one that is? Oh, I'll find it. Oh, you don't know which one? Did I not send it to you? Let me check. Oh, I guess I didn't.
Oh. Well, Secretary Gates is he's
Secretary
leaving,
Gates is
so
he's leaving. He's gone. We'll play it tomorrow when I'm not here. All right, so we'll move. All right, so let's move on and we'll talk about Rupert Murdoch. Okay.
Speaking of
so that's
Gates of hell.
Gates, sure. Now Rupert Murdoch. You know, one of my favorite things to do is when I'm watching Citizen Kane is every time they say the hero's name, I substitute Rupert Murdoch's name in my head.
Rupert Murdoch. Shameful, ignominious. Set back the cause of reform 20 years.
So, and I like that the media is portraying this as like some kind of a huge punishment to Rupert Murdoch, that now he's not going to be able to buy another multi-billion-dollar media empire or buy a controlling interest in it because they caught him doing this horrible thing. You know, I wish consequences worked for me like that, you know? Wouldn't it be nice? Hey, Jimmy, we caught you breaking into a house and killing someone. We're not going to let you buy that Ferrari you've had your eye on. That's the punishment that they're giving him. He can't buy, and that's the punishment.
He can't add to his already considerable fortune, and it's going to ruin his. You know, he's 80 years old and he wants to build for the future.
He certainly does. You know, it's like he's played so he does. There's no consequences. So you know, really, the consequences to him is he doesn't get to buy more stuff. And
no one is talking about taking Kitchen Nightmares off the air. I mean, what's going on?
I don't even know what that is.
It's on Fox, I think.
Oh, is it? Yes. Okay. So, and I also find it funny. Well, first of all, I don't understand why Rupert Murdoch just doesn't start wearing the Nehru jackets and walking around with a white Persian cat. I mean,
because that's like he's gone way beyond any of that. He's not a Bond villain because he's a successful Bond villain.
Yes.
He was smart enough not to go into a monologue before he killed Bond. Well, Mr. Bond, you see what my plan is.
He just
killed Bond, and then he gained another news network.
Well, it's just, I'll just commit to it already. And I find the funny thing is that another interesting point is that they're upset with them because they were hacking into people's voicemails to get information to write stories. But here in America, Rupert Murdoch owns Fox, and they don't even do that. And they just, which I think is worse, they just make up stories, which is worse. I mean,
they hack into our culture and desecrate.
And desecrate. It's just like if.
And this little, not that it's a little incident, but this one incident of him hacking into voicemail, and the thing that I think got them really mad, that caused the scandal more than anything, was the dead girl. You know, it was so sleazy, but you know. Him doing that is bringing him down, but you know, 60 years of pissing on journalism is not a big deal to anybody.
Well, it's just weird that his company's coming under scrutiny now, finally, for their nefarious ways to get at the truth. Whereas the Fox News just makes up stuff all the time. And if I found out that Fox was actually hacking into someone's voicemails and their stories were factual. I probably wouldn't have that big of a problem with it. It would probably be a nice change of pace, right?
Right.
And well, actually, you know, we have a call on the line to talk about this with us. Bill O'Reilly.
Oh, wow.
Is called in. Can we go to Bill O'Reilly? Are you there, Bill?
Jimmy Dore. Is this you?
This is me. Hi, Bill. How are you?
I found you. And so this is where I have to come to find you. The Young Turks. So that's where you are. That's quite a confluence of secular progressives. I assume after your taping, you're all going to go have a satanic orgy and lay out your plans for the 2011 war on Christmas.
That's what we're doing. It's the Young Turks. What do you think of that name, Bill?
The Young Turks? I don't think you belong on the Young Turks. I think you better find a show called the 45-Year-Old Irish Polacks. That would maybe be a little more appropriate for you.
Okay. Now, Bill, this voicemail hacking by the guy who owns your company.
All right, let me explain something to you here. This whole thing's been blown way out of proportion. It's out of control, all right? This is not a big deal, okay? People are under the impression that their voicemails are their own private property, and that's not true.
Well,
okay? No, it's not. In fact, time was years ago that if you had a phone, that was actually property of the phone company. Now, that may not be true anymore, but your voicemails are not inside your phone. They are stored in the phone company, okay? So it's not private property. So don't give me this crap about stealing people's privacy.
I'm pretty sure you're wrong about everything you just said. I know that the phone company used to own the phone, but that was back in I think that ended in the 70s. When they broke up Ma Bell.
Look, it's all, Jimmy, stop right there. It's all part of modern journalism. Investigative journalism needs to keep up with advancing technology. That's all Fox News and News Corp does. In fact, about 30 minutes ago, we hacked into your computer and erased that Robert Gates file so you would purposely have an awkward moment on air.
Wow.
Wow, you guys are good.
Yeah, we are.
But Bill, you know,
technology, Jim.
Bill, I would think if anyone wouldn't want their phone calls made public, it would be you, because apparently you've made some pretty embarrassing phone calls in your time.
Okay. I see where you're going there, Conniff. Okay, listen, I got nothing to hide. That's the other thing. What do you have to? I don't have anything to hide in my voicemail. If you check my voicemail now, you would hear 3 or 4 very simple voicemails. One of them, just something from my accountant. Another voicemail on there from my boss, Roger Ailes, inviting me up to his office to share a plate of pork shoulder. Another voicemail on there from Glenn Beck, who just calls and starts crying. I get one of those a week for just like about 10 minutes of weeping. And then, maybe a voicemail from the guy who provides me my falafels and loofahs.
That's where I was heading with that.
Oh, that's where we would go.
But I think what you're saying is...
Oh, I see what you're implying.
Bill, you're a traditional kind of guy, so when you sexually harass an employee, it's always over a rotary phone.
Oh, you're directly... Oh, this is brave. This is brave of you, gentlemen. You're directly referring to my reprehensible behavior towards women and my history of sexual harassment. I see. Okay. If that's how you want to play it, that's fine.
Now, Bill, as long as we have you, you don't have any problem with a media company hacking into people's private voicemails using it for the not only.
I got no problem with that at all.
Not only private citizens.
I got no problem with that at all, Jim.
But what about politicians? So what we're saying is that now Rupert Murdoch is influencing the elections and government. I mean, he's it's
the fourth estate, Jimmy.
Yes.
The journalists of this country, the good journalists, the ones who work at Fox News, should influence the outcome of elections. Because journalists, we do nothing but spread information. And sometimes information is hidden in voicemails.
You know, Bill, while I have you here on the phone...
Can I just say that
sure.
in Bill's defense, this conversation is more coverage than this story has ever gotten on Fox News.
Yes. Oh, that's right.
Thank you, Mr. Conniff. I will take that as a compliment.
It was meant to be one, sir.
Now, how have you reported this story over at Fox?
Well, that's
Okay, you don't have to answer.
It's complicated. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on right now. The debt ceiling and this Casey Anthony. Have you heard about this Casey Anthony whore? Oh my God.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about that. No, while I have you here on the phone, just for a minute or two, I remember you being stumped on your show by the tides of the ocean. There was a gentleman who said the tides go. You said you could prove there was God because the tides go in, the tides go out, and you can't explain that. Well, we can explain that because it's the gravitational pull.
Okay. You can try. I'll just say up front, you can't explain it. I mean, this is a common secular progressive trick. Okay, you guys do this all the time. You try to take people's God away from them. You try to take their Jesus away from them. And you know what? It's not going to work. No. Good Americans know that the tide goes in, tide goes out. There's never, ever been any miscommunication there. And no one can explain it. No, not even you and your little pinhead friends.
No, you can. You actually can explain it, Bill. It's the gravitational pull.
I'd like to see you try, Jimmy Dore.
No, it's... okay. All right, well, we won't talk about it. Well, Bill, I really appreciate you...
No, I want to hear it.
Well, what happens is the gravitational pull, I'm not a scientist, but all I know is I skimmed the answer, and the answer was that the gravitational pull of the moon creates the tides, right? Is that correct, Frank?
That's from what I've heard from science.
Who made the moon and who made gravity? Where did those come from?
Who made it? It was from the Big Bang?
Big Bang. Give me a break with that, will you? Come on. You're smarter than that, Dormouse. Come on.
I don't know what you mean to give you a break with that. That's the accepted...
This is all, the Big Bang is all a way for secular progressives like you and Frank Conniff and Cenk Uygur and everyone there at the Young Turks and MSNBC and that little cabal you guys all have going over there to destroy traditional American values. And it's very transparent. Don't even try to hide the fact of what's going on here.
Phil, we love America just as much as, I would say even more than you guys, because we're not willing...
Oh, that's rich.
I love America. I do, and I just want to say, hey, I enjoy all...
Well, if you really loved America, this is what it comes down to. If you really loved America, you would pretend to not know where the moon came from.
Can't argue with that logic.
That is what makes you a patriot, not a pinhead.
Okay, you cannot argue with that logic. All right, well, can I just ask you, who do you wish would be president? We've got a big cadre of people running. Do you want to see Chris Christie get into the race?
Well, Chris Christie, he's very entertaining, I'll tell you that. We should hear more from him later. But, hey, if the guy doesn't want to run, he shouldn't run. Okay, so out of fairness, let's focus on the people on the field. Who you got? You got Tim Pawlenty. He's got to grow up there. There's no way.
Michelle
Mitt
Bachmann.
Romney. Well, Michelle Bachmann. Hey, she's a powerhouse. Don't discount Michelle Bachmann.
Okay.
And her gay husband. I think.
Well, even Bill said.
Even Bill, even you know that.
It's obvious. Even I know. I mean, come on, give me a break here. What am I, an idiot?
Okay.
Conservative. I'm from Long Island. I don't have my head in the sand about that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yes, she's married to a gay guy. And who else? Herman Cain.
Yes.
We all like Herman Cain.
Does he have a
we got one of our own
pizza?
now. Take that.
What did you
Liberals.
say? Does he have a falafel pizza? We want to know.
Herman Cain.
All right. Again, with my sexual dalliances. I get it, Dore.
Okay. Listen, Bill, we got to go, but thank you very much for calling in. I look forward to talking to you again sometime.
Yeah, it's always good to be on the Young Turks.
Never thought I'd hear Bill O'Reilly say that.
I know. Okay, bye, Bill.
Me neither.
Okay. All right, should we, wow, that was fun.
Wow, quite a coup for this show to get Bill O'Reilly, I have to say.
You know, when Cenk goes away, we get Bill O'Reilly. So, all right, should we take a break and we'll come back? All right, let's take a break and we'll be right back on the Young Turks. I'm Jimmy Dore, Frank Conniff. See you in a sec. Okay, welcome back to the Young Turks. I'm your guest host, Jimmy Dore, and this is Frank Conniff from Mystery Science Theater 3000. I have a tickle in my throat. Okay, so we're going to talk about Michelle Bachmann and her troubles right now, but you know, when I travel, I'm a stand-up comedian, and I travel all over the country, all over the world, Frank, really.
Hey, you do.
I've been to
Jimmy
Canada.
Dore.
I hear you've been to Burbank. That's impressive.
I'll be in Burbank tomorrow night, sure. And but the thing when I travel and people find out I live in California, they want to ask me about two things. They want to know about medical marijuana, and they want to know about gay marriage. They're always like, how did you guys vote down gay marriage in California? Well, I have no idea. So I come up with a theory, right? And I do have a theory. My theory is I think a lot of the gay guys themselves voted against the gay marriage. Why would they do that, Jimmy? Hear me out. Yeah, I know they're gay, but they're still guys, right? And most guys don't want to get married, no matter who they're sleeping with, right? Let's say you're a gay guy and you don't want to get married, but your boyfriend does. You go, oh, I'd love to marry you. Let me go vote. No. And then afterwards, you can act all upset about it. You're like, oh, I wanted to marry you, but they made it illegal. But then some people go the other way with it. Some people say, well, how do you feel about gay marriage even being on the ballot? I say, let's put regular marriage on the ballot, right? See if that shit passes. Should I be able to marry a woman? In retrospect, I don't think so. And I would like to vote to make it illegal. Yeah, I know it sounds crazy, and I never thought I'd say this, but I just want the same rights as a gay guy. Yeah, some of you at home are laughing, and some of you are like, man, that stuff makes sense. I hope this guy starts a religion. And I just might start a religion. Because Michelle Bachmann is very religious. You know, we're going to talk about Michelle Bachmann. You know, we talked about it yesterday, and her husband, who will help you pray the gay away, right? Because he himself,
he prays it out of himself every day.
Prays it out of himself every day. That praying sucks.
And then it comes back the next morning. That's the problem.
You wake up.
He's working on it.
It's right back where you start. Right. So let's play a clip. Clip number 5. This is Dr. Marcus Bachmann. Now he got his degree. His PhD came from a correspondence college in Cincinnati. That's true. That's true. They call
impressive.
There's a name. They have a funny name for it. It's like an off-site learning center or something. It's like some crazy. So here's what he had to say about gays. Let's go number 5.
We have to understand barbarians need to be educated. They need to be disciplined. And just because someone feels it or thinks it doesn't mean that we're supposed to go down that road. That's what's called the sinful nature.
It's like he's doing, it's like it's Will Ferrell doing a character. It's like a joke.
If anything, that turned me gay, listening to that. I mean, I'm not gay, but come on, barbarians and discipline, it's pretty hot.
What he
really hot stuff,
and he has like a little bit of a lisp, but
he's old he's Republicans are old fashioned. He's an old fashioned gay guy,
right?
With a lisp. There's something kind of retro and ironic about his gayness.
And just as a side note, I think it was extra mean of the person who invented the word lisp, because the people with lisps can't say it. It's like, how mean is that? So anyway, so that's. I want to read some of the stuff that. So she had to sign this marriage pledge, Michelle Bachmann, right? And let me put on my glasses for this.
That's the one that was going around Iowa.
Yeah, an Iowa organization called the Family Leader has drawn up this pledge that they're supposed to, and it's the marriage vow. And according to the CEO of this group. The pledge is vitally necessary because the sanctity of marriage is in crisis, and leadership is desperately needed. And who better to turn to than a crazy congresswoman and her closeted gay husband to help bring sanctity back to marriage? You know, maybe they could get Newt Gingrich on board too.
Well, he believes in marriage,
Sure.
the sanctity. That's why he's honored the sanctity of it many times.
3 times
Yes.
already. He's sanctified it.
And the sanctity of adultery he believes in as well.
Yes, he does. So here is here's what's inside the pledge. I don't know. Have we covered it? Have you guys covered the pledge already on the just a little bit? It says the number 1 is the respect for the marital bonds of others, right? So that means don't screw somebody else's wife, right? Which I think I've already heard that in something else.
I think the ones that Newt cheated with weren't married, so I think he's okay there.
So he's okay there.
He was married, but they weren't.
Official fidelity to the U.S. Constitution.
Because you don't want to cheat on the
Constitution. No, I mean, if I find out, I come home and I find out you're sleeping with Paraguay's Constitution.
You know, after a few drinks, anything can happen.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I'm going hiking on the Appalachian Trail. I find out you're having nookie with Brazil's Constitution.
That happens on out-of-town business trips. So
It's literally what it says. Official fidelity to the U.S. Constitution, supporting the elevation of none but faithful constitutionalists as judges and justices.
wow. Well, I have to say, they take all the sex out of everything with that. Nobody is going to have sex with anyone after reading this.
Vigorous opposition to any redefinition of the institution of marriage, faithful monogamy between one man and a woman through statutory, bureaucratic, or court-imposed recognition of intimate unions which are bigamous, polygamous, polyandrous, same-sex, etc. So what they're saying is, screw the gays.
And they're also saying all those things are the same, you know, being gay, being
Yes.
polygamy, having sex with animals.
Those
it's all in the same equivalency, yes.
Bestiality, probably.
Bestiality, yeah.
Sure. Let's see. Rejection. Here's one that I don't understand why this is in this defense of marriage thing, or marriage vow. It says, rejection of Sharia, Islam, and all other... What is their obsession?
Studies show that a large majority of marriages break up in America break up due to the lack of fidelity to Sharia law.
Yes, yeah. Or too much Sharia law.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that's what happened to my parents. It was that damn Sharia law. Commitment to downsizing government and the enormous burden upon American families of the United States.
Now they're getting off story there, you know. Now they're going from the marriage to the size of government, you know.
Now, even worse than this, she gave a speech a couple of years ago. She delivered a lecture to the National Education Leadership Conference back in 2004. And I'm just going to hit some of the highlights of that speech where she was talking about, quote, I'm quoting her. She said, "We need to have profound compassion for people who are dealing with a very real issue of sexual dysfunction and sexual identity disorders. This is a very real issue. It's not funny. It's sad. And any of you who have members of your family that are in a lifestyle, we have a member of our family that is," that's what she's saying. "It's not funny." She says it twice. "It's not funny. It's very sad. It's part of Satan. I think to say this is gay is part of Satan. It's anything but gay."
Wow.
So she seems like she's got her feet in the ground and she's reaching for the
Was
stars.
that a speech or was that her confronting her husband?
I think somebody hacked in their voicemail to her husband.
Rupert Murdoch did.
Here's what she says about gayness, right? It leads to the personal enslavement of individuals. Because
in certain couples,
right,
not all of them.
Not all of them, and sometimes that costs extra. Because if you're involved in a gay and lesbian lifestyle, it's bondage. Personal bondage, personal despair, and personal enslavement. And that's why this is so dangerous.
Could you read that again, except much slower? I am very turned on right now.
Gay bondage. Here's one of my faves. Okay. Gay activists want to make gays look good.
Well, that's obvious. They always look good, and their neighborhoods look good, and
they're always
they have
nice
great,
manicured.
Yeah.
Sure. They want to make gays look good, and because the media didn't always want to make gays look good. If you recall television maybe 15 to 20, this is Michelle Bachmann speaking. If you recall television 15 to 20 years ago, if you'd see something about gays, it would be an outlandish kind of outfit. It would be a kind of tittering, making fun. But that's different now. Now gays are made to look good.
Wow, so her whole platform is based on a love of Jim J. Bullock.
Yeah.
And Paul Lynde and,
Yes.
Charles Nelson Riley, and I'm with her on that. Those guys were great.
And here is, I'm going to skip right to the end. You remember Matthew Shepard, right?
Sure,
the gay man who was a boy killed for being gay. She said this about him. Have you noticed that the media is very selective in its compassion? At the very same time that Matthew Shepard was tragically killed, there was a case of another young boy you may have heard about. His name was Jesse Dirksen. The little boy, he was 12 years old. He was kidnapped. He was brutally raped. He was murdered by 2 gay men. This occurred the same week as Matthew Shepard. We heard a lot about Matthew Shepard. We heard almost nothing about Jesse Dirksen. Why? Because Jesse did not serve the purpose of those sympathetic to homosexuality.
Wow. That is truly...
Because that's what the media did. That's what they do. They go, wait a minute, we got a kid raped by 2 gay guys. That wouldn't sell any papers.
So because this other thing happened, I should not feel as bad about Matthew Shepard.
Yeah, Matthew Shepard, yeah. It's because something else happened. Okay. Well, you know, a lot of this problem comes down to...
And by the way, I'm sorry, but couldn't you make the argument that most of those horrible cases where people are kidnapped and raped and killed are mostly heterosexual things? Mostly. By far, I would think.
I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just because of the sheer numbers.
Yeah, so...
Okay.
I'm saying her argument doesn't hold water, but I'm going out on a limb there.
And it comes down to, you know, I'm just going to say all of our problems that we're experiencing now, and this might be a bit of a generalization, I'm going to blame it on the gays. No, I'm going to blame it on our media, the Fourth Estate, right, which has really dropped the ball. They're not doing their job. It's because here's how it works, right? So it used to be the media would investigate government, and they would also investigate corporations, and then they would come back and report to the people. So the people who owned the corporations decided that, well, they had already bought Congress, they already bought the government, and then they had these people sticking their nose in their business, so they were like, well, we'll just buy the news. And that's exactly what happened. So now we try to get our news from corporations that don't have any interest in giving you the news. The corporations that own Congress now own the news. And so, like, for instance, if I'm if I want to get information, if I'm watching NBC and I'm trying to get information about the bank meltdown and what really happened, do you think you're going to get it from Brian Williams? Because NBC is a bank that got TARP funds. Let's say I want to know about what's happening with the nuclear plant in Fukushima. Do I turn on Brian Williams? No, because NBC was owned by General Electric, which made the...
But, you know, you've always been mad at Brian Williams ever since Holly Hunter preferred him to Albert Brooks.
That is true. Yes.
Broadcast
I know exactly what you're saying. Thanks for spelling that. Okay, so now I'm going to play, I'll give you, I'm going to go to NBC News. And if you want to get the truth about the war, if you go to NBC, General Electric is a defense contractor. Now, but now they're owned by Comcast, right? So General Electric doesn't own NBC anymore?
Oh, I don't think so, no.
Okay, so now everything's better. It's all cleared up.
Yeah, another gigantic conglomerate owns
So I was watching NBC News, and Brian Williams was on vacation. Lester Holt was sitting in for him. Now, the problem they always say, when people complain about the news on network television, they say, well, we don't have that much time. We only have 22 minutes a night, and we can't give enough time to all the stories. We just skim them, right?
Right.
So I just want to I took a minute out of the middle of their newscast, just a minute, and they split up 3 stories into 20 seconds, right? So each story they gave 20 seconds to. And the first story, let's just go ahead and play the first story. This is the NBC News, number 1.
The British government said today it will not change its plans for deep budget cuts despite yesterday's huge demonstration in London. As many as 250,000 people marched through central London to protest the biggest cuts in public spending since World War II. More than 200 people were arrested. Most are still in custody tonight. 84 people in all were injured in that protest.
Okay, so now what he didn't tell you, so I kind of got an idea of what was happening over there. Not really. I didn't really get an idea of what was happening. I had a thumbnail sketch.
The summation of a summation.
Yes, it was. So I know that there's some people protesting about government cutting back on money. So they're lazy, right? I know that they're probably lazy and they're living on the. I know some people got hurt over there, so they're probably violent. Even though he reports 78 people got injured, had to go to the hospital. Out of 250,000 people, you know, I think there's a bigger death rate at a Dodger game than there is in that
You're saying
riot.
that story might have required a little bit more than they gave it.
Yeah, so, and what I just told you now, it took me about 22 seconds to tell you all that. Let's see how NBC News and Lester Holt spent their next 22 seconds.
One of the secrets to a strong marriage is compromise, a lesson apparently already learned by the royal couple. They've chosen 2 cakes for the big wedding next month. There will be a traditional multi-tiered British fruit cake designed with a little help by the bride, Kate Middleton. As for the other cake, well, that's Prince William's childhood favorite, a chocolate biscuit cake.
You know, now I wanted to do a joke about that clip, but I just couldn't think of an apocryphal story that involves out-of-touch royalty and cake. So, okay, so those were the 2 stories back to back. People rioting in the street in England over austerity measures and cuts to for regular people, working people, cops, firemen, teachers, right? Those regular people who were protesting. They come right back with this story about 2 cakes. They're going to have 2 cakes at the royal wedding. Now here is the final 20 seconds of that news report. Let's see the final 20.
Now here's a sight you don't see every day, a raccoon with a peanut butter jar stuck on his head. He somehow ended up on top of this power line. Residents in the Long Island neighborhood called police. They brought in the power company. They in turn shut off electricity to the area, and that allowed a safe, successful rescue of a hungry little guy. When Nightly News returns in a moment, a very different perspective on life at the front.
Now, let me just say, that wasn't even the end of the news. They're doing the raccoon with the peanut butter jar in his head. That's not even the end. That's the middle of the news. They stopped telling you about what was happening with the riots and protests in England so they could get to the raccoon peanut butter jar. And the really sad thing is, that's the only story they sent a reporter to.
Wow. He said, here's a sight you don't see every day. Them reporting a story thoroughly would be a sight you don't see every day.
Every day, or any day.
Any day.
There you go. So that would...
You know, usually when Brian Williams is on vacation, he's there in the anchor chair. So it's good he wasn't there.
Yeah. So that is at a microcosm what is wrong with the news media. I have some more clips that I could show you what's wrong with the news media. I got to just tell you, I want to very quickly make a shift because I got a voicemail the other day. Now, on my show, I talked about Governor Chris Christie. First of all, he's a real, nuts and bolts kind of guy, no nonsense. Like
he likes nuts in his.
Well, he likes nuts.
Cherries.
He's a nuts and cherries guy, not bolts. But he's the kind of guy who, when they had the biggest snowstorm ever in New Jersey, he decided to take his kid to Florida to go ride roller coasters. Because when the tough gets going, the tough go to Disney World. Right. And then he said, hey, he always hides behind, I'm a father. He likes that. I'm a father. And then he got caught taking a helicopter ride to his kid's soccer game. And he was like, I'm a father. I'm a father. So he hides behind that, which...
Usually people hide behind him. He's a big person.
He's a big guy. Usually people hide behind Governor Chris Christie. So...
he banned Jenny Craig from entering New Jersey. I don't know if you heard about that.
I didn't hear that. Thanks for bringing. But Governor Chris Christie actually called and left me a voicemail the other day, and because he got upset with me talking about it. We were talking about it on our show, and I just thought, I don't know if it's appropriate, but I'm going to share it with you. And so let's go ahead and run to Governor Chris Christie.
Hey, Jimmy Dore. This is Governor Chris Christie of New Jersey. A little birdie told me that you were busting my fucking Stugatz over taking a helicopter to a soccer game. Let me explain something to you. When you got elected governor of New Jersey, you were allowed a certain amount of perks. Just because I take advantage of these perks does not mean I'm different than anyone else. I'm talking about certain specific perks, like a helicopter that could take you to soccer games. I know, certain people want me to apologize for it. Let me tell you something. I'm not in the business of apologizing to anybody about anything. You understand me? I'm not an apologizer. I don't go and say, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I'm not the governor of fucking Delaware. I'm the governor of goddamn New Jersey. I'm not in that business. I'm in the business of busting unions and balancing the budget on the backs of the working class and eating funnel cakes. That's my business. Eating funnel cakes and cannolis and pasta fajoux. And I'll take whatever I find on the beach and stick it on my fat fucking face. How about that, Jimmy Dore? Now listen to me. I don't want to hear any more about you busting my balls. I'm going to come over there to Pasadena, California, and give you the Osama bin Laden treatment. And by that, I mean I'm going to eat you.
Wow, he's a scary guy.
Governor Chris Christie, I don't want to mess around. I'm intimidated.
Yeah, he just does. You know, it's weird. I heard that he changed the name of New Jersey to the Olive Garden State. He's a big person, is my only point. And he came out for the Defense of Marinara Act. I mean, he's large.
He's a big guy.
He's pretty big, yeah.
And you know, and I think the reason why he took that helicopter ride, what's funnier than a fat guy in a helicopter, right? I mean, those blades were crying.
I admire the people that got in the helicopter with him. That was brave.
Well, you know, they say if he has one more cannoli, he's going to have to start taking a Harrier jet. So that's what. Okay, these are fat jokes aimed at Governor Chris Christie.
Political satire at its best, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, so we have a few minutes left. Let's. What should we talk about? There's a lot of things going on. Tim Pawlenty wouldn't sign that the marriage vow. Let's do Governor Kasich. Should we do Governor? Now he went on Morning Joe this morning, and well, let's go ahead and play it, and we'll talk about it afterwards. Let me see, Kasich. Guys, 21.
How are things going there?
Well, we just passed a budget. We were $8 billion in the hole. We've reformed Medicaid and actually had the AARP support our program. We did sentencing reform where we're not going to lock people up in a state prison who are 12,000 of them go to prison for less than a year. We stick them next to a murderer and a rapist, and then we release them, and we think we did a good job. We've changed all that, something that people wouldn't deal with for 25 years. We've privatized our development department. We have improved the cost savings for higher education. We have great choice in education. We killed the death tax.
How's your approval rating?
Well, depends. Well, look, you know,
he was giving me a good list.
Let me tell you, this is part of the problem I see in Washington. Okay. Look, I mean, approval ratings depends on who takes a poll and what the poll is. Bottom line is, my state was dying.
And I decided to stick the knife in and turn it a few times. That's what we do. So, first of all, there's so many things about that clip. One, I thought it's funny that he's bragging about all the good stuff he's done for his state. Two, when Micah actually asks him a question that would kind of counter his BS. Did you hear Joe Scarborough in the background?
Oh, come on.
That's not what we do. We don't ask people tough questions on Morning Joe.
What does it say about Morning Joe that their toughest investigative reporter is Micah?
Micah Brzezinski. Yeah, she's a real Walter Winchell, I'll tell you. And she asks him a question that's relevant. It counters his bull that he's peddling right there. And there's come.
You know what I hate about Washington, where I lived for years and years and years when I was a congressman?
Yeah, that's what's wrong with Washington. People right away, they want to know all the bad stuff you're doing. So here's some of the stuff that he's done that has lowered his ratings. This is why Micah asked him about that. He signed Senate Bill number 5 over the protests and tears of 70,000 Ohio teachers, nurse, police, and firefighters. Kasich signed Ohio's Bill number 5 into law in March. The bill eviscerates public workers' rights to collectively bargain and fully bans their right to strike.
Oh, Jimmy, why are you bringing that up?
What are you, jerk? kind of a jerk brings that up?
What would Kasich think if he happened to tune this in? He'd be embarrassed by that. Come on.
65% of the voters thought employees should maintain the same rights, and 54% say they repeal the bill in an election. Okay, let's go. We're going to go down to, he also, here's another thing he did. 70% of Ohioans, that's the,
is that how you say it?
Ohioans opposed drilling in public lands. Kasich, however, pushed opening any state park for oil and gas drilling to the highest bidder every year. The method known as fracking. Do you know what fracking is? That's where they put explosives in the ground to get the natural gas out of the rock. And there's just a couple of bad side effects from that people have gas in their water. It contaminates the groundwater. Stuff like that. It's not a big deal. Causes earthquakes. It's not a big... And so he did that. He also made it okay to bring a gun into a bar.
What could possibly go wrong?
I don't see what could, and I think that's got to be right under letting people smoke as they pump gas. That's got to be right. And you can bring a gun into a bar. He did that over the objections of the bar owners. Bar owners were against it. They lobbied against it.
They don't like it when people shoot up their bars.
That idea was unpopular with even the NRA was against that.
But actually, I've heard that they have a breathalyzer test that you take before you go into the bar, and you can only bring the gun in if you're drunk enough to handle the gun.
Well, I just think it's great. So when you go into a bar with your gun, I'm cool, and then you get a little loaded, and then somebody has to take it away from you. Hey, you're a little too drunk. Give me that gun. Okay.
All I know is that Ohio has the most fun happy hours at Applebee's of any state.
Of any. Yosemite Sam likes to go there. Here's the last thing I'll mention. What brought down Kasich's poll numbers was that Ohio's $56 billion budget plan levels comprehensive blows to Ohio's middle class and vulnerable population, while eliminating the estate tax, and cutting income taxes to help Ohio's wealthy. The budget slashes funding for schools, higher education, nursing homes, children hospitals, and work support programs for the poor. The think tank Innovation Ohio estimates that the budget will cause a loss of 51,000 jobs in Ohio.
Wow.
Unsurprisingly, 53% disapprove of Kasich's handling of the state budget and believe the budget is unfair to people like them. Why you got to bring that up?
I've been to Ohio a couple of times to do shows, and I liked it there very much. But it seems to me that if you didn't like Ohio, the thing to do would become to become a Republican governor there. And that way you could, if you really didn't like Ohio, this sounds like just a guy who hates Ohio and hates the people who lives there.
He's got
so
a grudge.
He became governor, yeah.
Sounds like he's got a, I'm going to get back at that Ohio. You know what I'll do? I'll run for governor, and then I'll screw them. I'll get rid of their school funding and their police funding, and I'll ruin their state parks. Oh, haven't felt this young.
And actually, because of Kasich in Cleveland, they're replacing the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with the Huge Asshole Hall of Fame.
Sure. Well, him and Chris Christie are going to get together next week for their huge douche-off. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope you guys cover it. So we're up against the clock. That is our show. I want to thank everybody for watching. I want to thank Cenk for allowing me, and Tom Hank for having me on, and everybody here who's done such a great job. What else? What would you like to say?
I'd like to thank you and thank them for letting me be a young Turk for 2 nights. It's awesome.
I feel like a real young Turk. Oh, you know what? I'm actually going to be on the next hour, but...
Okay, well, I'm leaving, so...
You're leaving. All right, let's say...
That's okay, because I'm hungry.
You can get us some cannoli.
Yeah.
Pasta fazool. All right.
All this Chris Christie talk has really worked up my appetite.
It gets me going, too. I'm going to take a helicopter to a subway. Okay, we'll be right back with the Young Turks after this.